Well, hello once again, Derby fans and addicts, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us. You are watching live coverage of the Big O tournament from Cosmopolitan, Eugene, Oregon. My name is Mike Checks, and I am joined by Ophelia Mellons. How you doing, Mellons?
Hello, Mike. Good to be here with you. Very exciting matchup.
Indeed, we've got the number 2 team in the WFTDA Victorian Roller Derby All-Stars taking on the Texecutioners from the Texas Rollergirls, the number 5 team in the WFTDA.
And that's right. Let me introduce our friends and fans to the Texas roster. They'll be wearing black this evening, and number 7 is Jackie Daniels wearing the C. Number 100, CC Boom. Number 12, DeBella DeBall. Number 15, Trauma. Number 1600, Barbara Ambush. Number 19, Molotov Impale. 20, Bloody Mary. Number 202, the one and only Freight Train. 27, Peace War. Number 420, Stone Her. Oh, I get it. That's funny. 27, 420. Okay, number 5, Smarty Pants. Number 813, Bitter Cup. Number 888, Dolores Fuertes. And number 9, Nikki Ticky Time Bomb.
Their opponents this evening decked out in their white uniforms with blue trim, the Victorian Roller Derby League All-Stars. Skating in tonight's bout, number 0, Ivy Conivey. 010, Giles. Number 10, Bisexual. Number 13, Mary Fagdalin. Number 14, Christy Demons. 192, Foxy LaRue. Number 20, Lorraine Evans. 2806, Danny Darko. The captain, number 307, Shayna Sarelson. 358, Yana Nuku. 38, Bone Shaker. 503, Mick Swagger. 66, Screw Barrymore. And 85, Bianca Sharetta. Victorian, coached by Matt Clanahan and Sausage Rolls.
That's right. The Texecutioners coaches can't leave them out.
That's right.
Dilla, a retired TXRG skater, and Who, formerly known as Just Carol, the former Charm City jammer. And a little bit of information that leads us to where we are this evening for Victorian versus Texas. Earlier today, both teams coming out with victories. Victorian played Bay Area Derby, and that was a solid win.
Very
somewhere
solid
in the
win.
range of about 289 point differential there, surprising everyone.
Yeah, did not see that coming.
And also TXRD coming off of a sound win over Rat City, 165 to 122. That's a differential of 43 and a really great game to watch. The last time these two teams matched up was at Champs, where Victorian won by 96 points, and then last May, Victorian won by 70. So Victorian just getting better and better and better.
Well, and the only question we have from the earlier bout is, what can Texas do against VRDL's defense?
It's a lot to manage.
That's right. We are about ready to get underway. Giles taking the star for VRDL opposite Peace War for Texas. Peace War making progress against the front of the pack. That's Mick Swagger and Screw Barrymore working at the front. Giles trying to work her way around the back, getting offense in the back from Shayna Sarelson.
Barry really doing a great job of bracing that wall. It's number 20, Lorraine Evans, as well as yours and my favorite, Mick Swagger.
That's right. Very slow start to the pack, just now at the top of the first apex.
Texas really surrounding Giles here. There was like 3 of them stuck chest to chest around her, and we have number 88 headed to the penalty box.
And Peace War through the pack first. Lead jammer goes to Texas. Giles now clear on her initial pass, giving up less than half the track. Peace War coming around the second straightaway as the teams enter the second and now exit the second turn. Fast pace to the pack right now. Peace War through, does pick up all 4 points and calls off the jam. Texecutioners draw first blood.
Little bit of miscommunication. You could see the miscue there between Sarelson and Mick Swagger. They split their wall a little early, and well, Peace War found the bridge over the river.
That's right. So Texas with an early 4-0 lead. Dolores Fuertes in the penalty box for Texas to start this jam. Mary Fagdalin on the jam line for VRDL. And that's Bloody Mary jamming for Texas. Mary Fagdalin working against the front of the pack, getting some help from number 2806, Danny Darko. Darko really playing active offense at the front of the pack, swarming defense though. That is 100cc Boom up front. One left to beat, and Mary Fagdalin through. Lead jammer goes to VRDL.
What we're seeing here is, well, what I notice is Texas has a habit of removing the helmet cover a lot. They don't necessarily pass it very much, and it's pretty effective for them.
That's
so
right.
Bloody Mary looking to pass it, psychs him out, and is now on a scoring pass as Mary Fagdalin calls that jam, and she puts up 2 more points, or their first 2 points.
That's right. So the Texas lead will hold through to the start of Jam 3. 2 in the penalty box for TXRG. That's 100cc Boom in there, and I can't quite see who she's sitting next to.
Freight Train now on the line for Texas. And a depleted pack, 4-2 pack advantage for Victorian going into this 3rd jam.
No pass, no penalty sign. That is why Ivy Canivy is not your lead jammer. Freight Train still looking up to pick leads. She's got 2 to beat up front. Last one, Screw Barrymore. She is through. Lead jammer goes to Texas, and a quick call off for a scoreless jam.
You know, she might have pulled the trigger a little too quick there. There's a couple blockers in the penalty box and maybe had about 20 yards to kill. But you get a little excited, you get that lead jammer, you know what's coming.
That's
you
right.
Call that bad boy off. Couple new faces on the Texas roster. Nikki Tiki Timebomb, she was brought up from Texas Firing Squad and was in fact the MVP of Full Metal Bracket, the B Team Championship. And right up the inside line, lead jammer for Victorian is Giles.
Giles with the quick lead jammer. Texas still working on getting their jammer out of the box. They've still got 1 in the penalty box, 3 blockers on the track now. Giles goes to her toe stops, clears the pack. 5 points on that scoring pass. Meanwhile, Texas jammer now clear on her initial pass. Nikki Tiki Timebomb. Giles goes down in turn 2, calls off the jam from the floor.
Yeah, it looks like she got mixed up there with Dolores
Fuertes?
Yes.
3
An
points.
excellent game this afternoon against Texas. Really stood out.
3 points picked up by Victoria on that last scoring pass. They're now in the lead 10-4.
And coming up here, Mary Fagdalin jamming again up against Peace War.
Peace War defensive jamming to start. Mary Fagdalin having none of that though. She's trying to push out Texas defense at the front of the pack. Nice swarming defense at the front of the pack. Mary Fagdalin through. Lead jammer goes to VRDL.
Texas playing pretty conservative right now. You saw them really throw their arms down, trying to avoid those multiplayer calls there.
Peace War with the cap off, maybe looking to pass, gets moved to the inside. She's going to have to reset back by the jam line. Meanwhile, Mary Fagdalin pushing against Texas up front, knocked to the inside of the first apex.
Trauma giving her a hard time in that pack.
DeBella DeBall doing good work as well, pushing out to in. Mary Fagdalin, though, staying in bounds, getting a little bit of help from Danny Darko at the front of the pack. Excuse me, that's not Danny Darko, that is Lori Evans.
Peace War really trying to pull some back blocks. You saw her take a moment to pause and turn her back. Mick Swagger's not taking that bait, though.
Track cut penalty whistled in turn 2. That's going against Mick Swagger.
Speak of the devil.
Mary Fagdalin back in the pack on another scoring pass. Texas now out and looking to score. Jackie Daniels, recipient of the cap pass, but VRDL calls off the jam before she can hit the back of the pack, and 3 more points to Victoria's credit.
That's right, another 8-point jam. 2 in a row here. And Texas now scoreless, last 3 jams in a row.
Victoria 18, Texas 4, 23-41 left in the first half, and we are at an official timeout.
as I was mentioning, there's some new faces on the Texas roster this year. In addition to Nikki Tiki Time Bomb, Bo Jackson, also brought up from Fire Squad. Peace War and Dolores were on both the AB team, but now are primarily on A team. And also Killams is a Midwest transfer. She skated for Mad Roland Dolls, Windy outfit. She's got some experience that she brings to this team.
We haven't been able to figure out quite what the official timeout is for. So Texas jumped out to an early lead, held that through 4 jams, I believe. And VRDL coming back, they're now at 18. Bench coach for VRDL out talking with one of the NSOs. This may have something to do with the fact that we don't have an inside whiteboard. This might be a penalty check. Not really sure.
Definitely happened a few times earlier today. The ref crews here at the Big O being very diligent. A lot of times before a jam, ref displays their points at the end of a jam. You see them checking in with their OPRs. You see the NSOs always communicating. Really impressive officiating at this level.
Our head referee calling the shots. Heading over to the penalty box now. Actually, that is I believe that's the ringster table over there. So Collins checked in. And Mellons is going to get official word from calling the shots.
Technical difficulties with ringster. We called it.
All right.
Hashtag we love ringster.
Hashtag not our first rodeo.
Spoke with Shayna Sarelson prior to this game, asked her for a fun fact. And, you know, they seem really silly. And she says, actually, Victorian isn't a very silly team, but they just are always hyped up on each other all the time because they all like each other.
Well, that's a good place to start. We've got Ivy Knive wearing the star, and she already threw the pack. Lead jammer going to VRDL. Bloody Mary jamming for Texas.
And she hands that right off to Smarty Pants, number 5.
Very quick cap pass. Ivy Knive forced to call off the jam. She was still working on that scoring pass, only picked off 2 points.
Well, she called it off at the right time. Smarty was coming in with some heat. 2 more points here for Victoria, leaving Texas scoreless the last 5 jams in a row.
Here's the thing about that, though. Texas has done a great job not letting VRDL hang multiple scoring passes on them. That's something that we saw Bay Area give up en masse earlier today.
May not be able to put up too many points, but you can certainly lock it down and focus on your D.
That's right.
And they have Freight Train on the track to do some work, and there she is, the lead jammer as she passes through Shayna Sarelson.
You don't see Shayna Sarelson move that easy terribly often, but Freight Train certainly did that. Back on the back of the pack and in now on a scoring pass. Freight Train just forcing that defense forward.
And we see Giles struggling against a strong pack of JD, CC Boom, Trauma, and Bitter Cup.
Giles out clear on the initial pass. Freight Train calls it off. 5 points for the Texecutioners.
There they go. Score now, 9 for Texas, 20 for Victorian with 22 minutes remaining in this first period.
VRDL also doing a good job not letting the Texecutioners hang multiple scoring passes on them. Mary Fagdalin back out to the jam line for Victoria. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb for the Texas Rollergirls. Pack starting up at the pivot line this jam. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb already at the front of the back. Gets around Bianca Sharetta. Lead jammer goes to the Texecutioners. 2 in a row now for TXRG as Mary Fagdalin working her way through the pack.
Big push on Bianca there, manages to clear the path.
Number 10, Biceptual to the penalty box. 5-point scoring pass for TXRG. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb coming around looking for more. Shut down on the outside or inside by Bianca Sharetta. Danny Darko also working up front. Bianca Sharetta does get the exit hit now and is going to recycle Nikki Tiki Time Bomb.
Mary Fagdelein surrounded by a crew of Texies. Here you see number 420 stone her, pull her back.
Mary Fagdelein tapping the side of her helmet at the jam ref saying, I'm getting hit in the head. Number 38 heading to the penalty box. That is Bone Shaker. Another 5-point scoring pass for Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. Texas within 1.
There they go. Mary Fagdelein finally clear on the inside. Had her helmet covered in her hand. Didn't matter. Just a initial pass.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb knocked to the outside of turn 4. Wasn't sure who knocked her out. Decided she was just going to call off the jam. Got 3 points, and we have a lead change.
We sure do. That's 13 up off the board for Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. Score now 22-20. Texas in the lead.
Shayna Sarelson, one of the VRDL coaches, out addressing, calling the shots. Back to the bench area now as the jam about to get underway. Ivy Knive wearing the star for VRDL. Peace War jamming again for TXRD.
Bone Shaker in the box for VRDL. Beautiful tripod here against Peace War on the inside to the out. JD playing offense up front, picking them off one at a time.
Peace War pushing out the defense. Split pack, no call either way. Apparently Jackie Daniels dropping the bridge in time, keeping both portions of the pack in play. Excellent battles going on in the front and the back of the pack. Finally, Peace War through. Lead jammer goes to Texas.
We just saw Ivy take a few steps back and come in with some brute force, and it works for her. She's cleared on her initial pass as Peace War enters the pack.
She is Ivy Knive giving up more than half the track to Peace War. Peace War calls off the jam. 1 point on that scoring pass as the pack sped up to keep her from scoring more.
She'll take it. Texas now regaining some momentum as they've had 3 lead jammers in a row.
Again, we're seeing another pivot line start by the blockers. Bloody Mary out on the track for Texas. Opposite Giles for VRDL. Giles starts on the outside, goes to her toe stop. She's forced out, comes back in. Texas looking for a track cut penalty, did not get it. Barbara ambushed now with the exit hit.
Bloody Mary struggling behind Biceptual, Bone Shaker, and Danny Darko.
Giles again now forced to the inside and forced to reset. Bloody Mary pushing out VRDL's defense at the front of the pack, and she is declared lead jammer.
Bianca Scarletta really dropping the bridge in the nick of time. Clockwise penalty now being assessed on Dolores Fuertes.
Cap in hand, Giles through the pack, clear on her initial pass. Bloody Mary looking to pick up as many points as possible. That's Danny Darko. Bone Shaker at the front of the pack. Bloody Mary gets knocked to the outside of the far straightaway, calls off the jam. Did get all 5 points though. Texas up 8 with 17 and a half left to go in the first half.
Victorian has now been scoreless for the last 4 jams.
This very much has been a seesaw back and forth.
Yes, definitely, and you would expect Victorian to, based on their performance today, come in with a little bit, more gusto. But the fact is, both of these teams had really tough bouts today, and it's 8 p.m.
That's right. Well, and Texas may have an answer for VRDL's defense. Freight Train pushing out VRDL's defense in the front, gets knocked to the inside. She's going to have to reset. Meanwhile, Mary Fagdelein, one to be to front. She is clear. Lead jammer goes to VRDL. Freight Train working on the inside of turn 3. Forearm penalty being whistled and an insubordination to go along with it. Those against Shayna Sarelson. There's the 2 penalty tap. Meanwhile, Mary Fagdelein through the pack, 5-point scoring pass, VRDL.
Freight train forced to the inside there.
Screw Barrymore on the exit hit in turn 4. Mary Fagdalin through the pack on another 5-point scoring pass. Freight train now clear on her initial.
Mary Fagdalin doing her Gumby impression there.
Victoria up by 2. Both jammers coming to the pack. We got a whistle down in turn 2. Jam called off. No points on that pass. So VRDL retaking the lead at 30-28. 15 minutes, 45 seconds left here in the first half of play. Both coaches now in addressing, calling to shots. And we have an official timeout on the track.
Well, as you were saying earlier, Mike, Victorian's got possibly the most stifling defense in the WFTDA. Bay Area did not have the offense to poke through, but Texas is freaking bringing it.
Texas seems to be disrupting VRDL's setup. They're not allowing to get the tripod put together, and it's causing a little bit of chaos.
Seeing some miscommunications between their blockers, which was not prominent today.
All right, so that official timeout over. And now we see VRDL getting set in their defensive formation. Texas down 2 blockers, though.
Yeah, that's why we see Victorian now setting up on the jammer line. Texas wisely putting out Smarty Pants, but wow, Ivy cuts right around the outside for lead Jerem.
Around the outside also comes Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. She's got 1 to beat up front. That's Biceptual. She is clear on her initial pass, giving up about half the track. Ivy can Ivy in on a scoring pass, knocked to the inside of turn 1. Calls off the jam from the floor. 3 more points for VRDL.
Score now, 28 for Texas, 33 Victoria. 15 minutes remaining in this first period. With the quarter down, if this is any indication for how the rest of the game is going to go, it's going to be real exciting. You're going to want to stay tuned. Thank you again for tuning in the first place here at the Big O. Really wonderful tournament here in Eugene. Emerald City Roller Derby doing a fantastic job with their bow production.
So calling to shots went over to the Texecutioners bench real quick and informed them that in the previous jam, their jammer, Nikki Tiki Time Bomb, did get a penalty. She starts in the penalty box.
And that's going to make Giles. Yeah.
Giles just picked up a forearm penalty. She's headed to the penalty box, as is Mick Swagger. We have no jammer on the track now. And now we do once again. That jammer, Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb working against the front of the pack. Shayna Sarelson up there.
Pack speed really picking up.
Working with Screw Barrymore. Nice defense by VRDL, but Nikki Tiki Time Bomb is your lead jammer.
4 blockers on the track for Texas.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb already into the pack, working against Sarelson, goes to the outside of turn 4 and clears the pack. 5 points for Texas.
Giles still working her way through. Texas skater down, blocking her path.
Tie bout right now. That's not going to last long. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb in the pack on another scoring pass, forced to the outside by Lorraine Evans.
You just saw Nikki walk the tightrope both on the inside and outside in the span of 10 feet. Meanwhile, Giles finally through, completes her initial pass.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb pushing against the pack, exiting turn 4, calls off the jam. Had 3 points in the pocket on that scoring pass, and Mellons, that's another lead change.
It sure is. Here comes Texas. Score now, 33 Victoria, 36 Texas.
Inside 13 minutes left to go in the first half. Bench coast for Victoria once again out addressing, calling the shots. And now requesting a team timeout.
I was just going to comment that this game feels like it's moving so fast.
Well, we have not had many stoppages of play. There was the technical difficulties earlier, but that was only about a minute. And we are going to pause for the first team timeout.
In speaking with Jackie Daniels prior to this weekend's tournament, I asked her what their team goals were for the Big O, for the season in general. She's holding her cards pretty close to her chest here, and what she did say is that they're focusing on happiness, vision, and hunger, and hoping there's a glimmer of hope for the rest of the season. It's no secret Texas had a really hard time last year at the Big O, but they come here and they want to play the best.
Well, and you talked about earlier VRDL dismantling Bay Area, and nobody saw that score differential coming, really.
Absolutely.
But Texas looks like they really are hungry right now. They're taking VRDL and giving them everything they can. That's why they've got 3 extra points on the scoreboard.
That's absolutely right.
And
Looks like we're getting ready here. Yeah, it's early in the game. Peace War now jamming, wearing black for Texas. Mary Fagdalin jamming for VRDL in the white jersey.
Peace War moving side to side in the back of the pack, trying to make headway against VRDL's defense. She started out the jam playing defense.
Darko playing heavy offense for her at the front of the pack in this Texie madness. It's like a washing machine up front.
And it is definitely giving VRDL fits right now. Mary Fagdalin gets free. Nice last second hit. There will be a penalty for that, though. Looked like a low block was the penalty assessed. That going against Bitter Cup for Texas. Lee Jammer goes to VRDL. Peace War fighting at the front of the pack. She's got Biceptual. Is that Danny Darko up front? Yep. It looks like as well. Oh, Peace War moved to the inside. High block. Penalty assessed to Biceptual. Mary Fagdalin through the pack on a spin move. She clears 5 points, VRDL. That's another lead change. Peace War now through the pack, clear on her initial pass.
Mary Fagdalin really earning that pass. DeBella DeBall really gave her a run for her money. And right around the outside here on turn 1, Peace War putting up 4 more points.
Texas retaking the lead. Peace War through the pack. Again, finally being called off. Victoria may have been trading points, trying to get their blockers out of the penalty box there. Texas holding to a 1-point lead now inside 11 minutes, 41-40. Well, fans, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it, and you are being treated to one heck of a bout this evening. Ivy Canivy with the star for VRDL, opposite Freight Train. Freight Train pushing against VRDL's tripod at the front of the pack. Now getting a little bit of help coming from number 19, Molotov M. Pale.
Pushing up the front. Ivy looking for a little assistance here from Shayna Sarelson, sweeping left and right.
Shayna, forceful offense. Gets assessed a direction of play penalty. She'll report to the penalty box. Ivy Canivy trying to work against Molotov and Pale. Track cut penalty whistled against Freight Train, and Ivy Canivy is your lead jammer.
Yeah, Texie's not a big fan of the lack of a cut call, but look good from here.
Smarty Pants, nice job of defense in the backfield for Texas. And a track cut penalty, nicely done by Molotov Impale. Ivy Canivy to the penalty box.
And Freight Train currently sitting in the penalty box herself. We have ourselves a 2-minute jam on our hands.
Shayna Sarelson now standing. Freight Train freed from the penalty box. Once Sarelson is free, both teams will be back at full strength.
Wow.
Freight Train rolls round the outside, almost cleared the pack. VRDL's defense shuts the door. Biceptual, a nice job. Crash offense. Inside to out, and Freight Train is clear on her initial pass.
Yeah, Freight Train did this great rainbow thing with her upper body to escape a big hit coming in, jumped over right over the top.
Track cut penalty to Mick Swagger lands her in the penalty box. Freight Train being recycled out of turn 4 back to turn 3. Sarelson joining Mick Swagger in the penalty box.
Not good news for Victorian at this point.
Hugging going on at the front of the pack. That's Biceptual hugging Freight Train. Biceptual knocking Freight Train out, gonna recycle her. Barbara Ambush stops the recycle short though in turn 4. Screw Barrymore anchoring the defense out front. Texas really trying to disrupt that defense and doing a good job of it. Both jammers having 4 points held. And it looks like Texas still with a 1-point lead.
Big shout out to RollerCon. Some sort of convention of roller things, all things roller. 8 tracks, 70 coaches, 160 challenges, 24 bouts, uncountable seminars, social events, and vendors, plus 1 uterus-shaped 24-hour pool. Derby Summer Camp every July.
Bloody Mary jamming for Texas. Giles wearing the star once again for VRDL. She had over 100 points in the bout earlier against Bay Area. Pack constricted now, just finally entering turn 1. We got a whistle and a forearm penalty.
Jackie Daniels headed to the box for that.
Lead jammer has been assessed to Giles. She was knocked to the inside. She's going to reset at the pivot line. She is your lead jammer.
She moved to the outside, but Bitter Cup closed that lane, and she's now been forced to the inside. Both jammers recycling to the rear of the pack, right where they started.
It was actually Bloody Mary on the exit hit of Giles there on that last trip through. Giles again knocked to the inside, this time by number 15, Trauma, and Trauma drew the track cut penalty.
Another power jam for Texas here.
Texas with some great strategies against VRDL.
They're hyper-focused.
They seem to be. Bloody Mary trying to push out the front of the pack. Shayna Sarelson there, Biceptual up front as well. Bianca Sharetta.
Bitter Cup and CC Boom always at the ready to play some offense. Their jammer makes eyes at them and they slice in. Right now they're pulling back a little bit. Now they get that pack moving. And we see Giles now standing in the penalty box and they prepare for her entry.
Bloody Mary with the cap off. Giles now out of the penalty box. Skating along the far straightaway as the pack enters turn 4. VRDL getting their defense set at the front of the pack, and a big hit by Biceptual as Giles threw the pack clear on her initial pass.
And Biceptual gonna pick up a penalty for that. Didn't have the angle on it myself.
Elbow penalty called at the end of that jam. Looks like that might be against the captain, Jackie Daniels. She is skating around the outside of the track, and yes, indeed, she is headed to the penalty box.
All that, no points?
That's what I'm getting from this, yes.
Both teams really leaving it all out on the track. Very impressive play from Texas here, and now we have an official review called by Texas.
No, called by VRDL.
Oh.
That was called by VRDL. Their coach in the center of the track addressing Colin DeShantz basically since the jam ended.
I'm enjoying watching the dichotomy of the Victorian coach and the Texie coach.
That's fair. No, I can understand that. So both coaches out there addressing Colin DeShantz. Looks as though VRDL's coach talking about the elbow penalty that was called in that last jam. Of course, Colin will give us the update as to exactly what's going on.
In the meantime, big shout out to S1 Helmets. S1 make the best helmet and pads for roller derby. And they would like to introduce the S1 Pro knee pad, thoughtfully designed with comfort, durability, and function in mind. Thank you, S1 Helmets.
So we had one of the NSOs joining the officiating huddle in the center of the track. Quickly went back to his post, so I'm not sure if this may have just been checking in on penalties. Again, from our vantage point, it looked like the elbow penalty in that last jam was the one being questioned, but Colin will give us the update on that.
See, now we're seeing Victorian doing these fun arm things and then moving around on the track. They are too silly.
Yes, they are.
I mean, they're not like Rose City silly, but
Well,
who is?
That's fair. I find it interesting the way that the bench is set up in VRDL's area there. They've made sort of a kind of a semicircle in a way.
We call that a conversation pit.
Yeah, we used to do that in my day as well.
Yeah, well, dinosaurs used to roam the earth, Mike.
That's what I've been told.
This is the last game of the day on this track, but starting shortly, there's a juniors game, Rose City and Angel.
That's right. The Rosebuds travel team.
Well, Colin knows how to speak into a microphone. That's great.
Right. Yeah.
You were right.
In case you didn't hear, it was in fact the elbow penalty. The referees conferred, and the call was confirmed.
So Victorian will lose their official review for the remainder of the period, but there's only 5.5 minutes remaining. And Texas still up by 1. Jamming now, Nikki Dicky time bomb for the Texas Rollergirls and Mary Fagdalin wearing white for Victorian.
Nikki Dicky time bomb moved to the outside, was forced to reset. She's now being pushed to the inside by Mick Swagger. Track cut penalty, Nikki Dicky time bomb. Power jam VRDL. Big hit on Mary Fagdalin at the front of the pack. Forearm penalty, that's leveled against Mick Swagger. She'll report to the penalty box. Texas losing Smarty Pants.
Texas not giving up too many power jams. See what Victorian does with this.
Stoneher took a big hit from Screw Barrymore. Mary Fagdalin careful not to get the track cut penalty there. She's going to be reset. This is a great penalty kill by Texas.
Absolutely. Stoner brought him all the way back, and her teammates joined her at the rear of the pack. Mary Fagdalin through. Finally awarded lead jammer 1:05 into this game.
And it took almost 25 seconds of the penalty that was assessed to Nikki Dicky time bomb, who is already back out on the track working on her initial pass. Both teams go all D. Nikki Dicky time bomb to the inside. She clears on her initial pass. Both teams now at full strength as the penalty box empties. Mary Fagdalin knocked to the inside, calls the jam from the floor. 3 points for VRDL and another lead change. VRDL 47, Texas 45, 4 minutes, 1 second.
Extremely contentious last 2 jams, only 3 points scored at all by either team in the last 2. 3 in a row lead jammers for Victorian. Ivy, Giles, and Mary having strong showing.
So on that official timeout, calling the shots, called the 2 bench coaches over, addressed both of them in front of the penalty box, and then returned to the center of the track. My guess is tone down the chippiness.
Yeah, it's getting chippy.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the last jam, you saw Mary Fagdalin blast through a couple jammers and call that from the inside track boundary.
Right. Ivy up front, getting a little bit of offensive help from Bone Shaker. Bone Shaker coming inside to out, clears 1.
Freight Train working her way through the rear of the pack. Bianca Scarletta, biceptual, and Shayna Sarelson, though, in the tripod of death.
Bittercup has hit Ivy Knive at least 3 times in this jam. And Ivy Knive moving to the inside.
Victorian had a great ability to, while they were containing Freight Train, still get the pack moving to make sure there was no split pack call.
Pack bunched up in turn 3, and Ivy exits the pack. Lead jammer VRDL. Freight Train now gets by Sarelson, clear on her initial pass. She's giving up a less than a quarter to the track to Ivy into the pack. Again, falls to the floor, calls the jam from the floor. 2 points for each jammer.
That's right. Freight Train in the box for a high block. And Smarty Pants also sitting in the penalty box going into this jam. Victorian Still holding on to that 2-point lead, 49 Victoria, 47 for Texas with 2:44 remaining in this first period.
I believe that's actually Trauma sitting in the penalty box for Texas. Hard to see the numbers
the
from
one
here.
in front of the 5.
There we go. So back to the action on the track. Giles with the star. She's got one to beat up front. That's Stoneher. A track cut penalty on Stoneher. And Giles, your lead jammer. Number 27, Peace War, takes the cap off, still working on the initial pass. Giles passes her. Flop there by Barbara Ambush. No penalty on the call. Giles through the pack on a 5-point scoring pass. Peace War working against Mick Swagger. Mick Swagger moves her to the inside. Giles now around the track, exits turn 2 with another 5 points. Peace War up front trying to make hay in turn 3. She still has cap in hand. Giles back into the pack working on another scoring pass for VRDL.
Takes herself out in order to avoid returning to the track illegally.
Barbara Ambush with the exit hit.
Trauma now wearing the star.
Out of the penalty box and through the pack. Did pick up a point coming out of the penalty box. Crowd responds in kind, though 3 more points for VRDL. They extend their lead 61-47.
So 12-point jam there for Giles.
And another official timeout on the track. It looks like we may be having technical difficulties again.
Perhaps.
It was the table next to the penalty box calling for that official timeout. Well, fans, I know that we're not quite at halftime yet, but at the end of this game, stick around. Megatron and John Maddening, I believe, are doing one more post-game wrap-up this evening. So make sure you stick around for that.
Here's some more Ophelia's fun facts from the Big O. 39 teams here, 20 vendors, 34 announcers, and would you guess how many officials are here on skates and off? Because it's over 130.
I was going to say 120 or
yeah,
so.
It takes a village.
It does.
53 games in total, 30 WFTDA sanctioned games, 13 MRDA, 7 junior, and 3 exhibition bouts this weekend.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
tree.
Yes. So technical difficulties seem to not be difficult anymore. Mary Fagdalin wearing the star for Victoria. Bloody Mary jamming for Texas. Whoa, and a big hit in turn 1. Low block penalty. That's going to go against Mary Fagdalin. Power jam Texas. Bloody Mary now. Forearm penalty. That's going to go against Biceptual.
Quick moving pack here. Texas in the back looking for some offense. Trauma.
We've seen We've seen entire jams where the pack doesn't get all the way around the track. It already has now. Bloody Mary through. Lead jammer goes to Texas. Texas with their blocker set up in the backfield. Tripod set up for VRDL in the front of the pack. Bone Shaker goes down. Bloody Mary's got Sarelson to contend with at the front of the pack alongside Bianca Sharetta.
They're getting pushed out of play. Bonnie Bone Shaker is there, and Biceptual extending that pack, but 5 points going to Bloody Mary and the Texies.
Texecutioners going to try and keep Biceptual as a goat in the back of the pack, and Bloody Mary makes quick work. 5 points for Texas. And Bloody Mary calls off the jam. We have an official review being called by Texas. They're going to call that before the first half ends.
Why not? Use it. Use it or lose it.
That's fair. Fans, what we're going to do is we're going to send this to halftime right now. call into shots will give us the information at the half. We will let you know exactly what this official review is and the decision. What do you got, Melons?
I'm going to ask a trivia question and come back after the half with the answer.
Okay.
Which team traveled further, Aldriki or Helsinki?
All right, fans, that's your halftime question. We'll be back with the answer to the review and the trivia question. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Well, Derby fans and addicts, welcome back. You are watching live coverage of the Big O tournament from beautiful cosmopolitan Eugene, Oregon. Specifically, we are at halftime of the final bout on track 1 tonight, featuring VRDL opposite Texas. VRDL ends the first half leading 61-57. Melons, you got stats. I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Stats.
Yeah.
That's what's for dinner. So first of all, I want to talk about lead jammer.
Okay.
Lead jammer's percentages. Mary Fagdalin, 71% lead jammer stats for her in the first period. By far the most effective jammer of the night. Also the high scorer in the first period with 30 points. Victoria with a tight 3 jammer rotation. Texas working in 4 jammers. High scorer is Nikki with 21, Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. All the Texas jammers are averaging about a 40% lead jammer status all around. Also penalties, interestingly, Texas only has 3 skaters in a little bit of penalty trouble with 3 apiece, JD Trauma and Dolores Fuertes. But Victoria, Bisexual, Shayna, and Mick all struggling with 4 already in the first period, and that could spell trouble come crunch time, the last few minutes of this game.
Well, especially since, as you brought up in the first half, this is the second game today for both of these teams. It is late in the evening here. It is 8:45 or so.
And before we went to the halftime, I asked the trivia question, who traveled further? Is it Helsinki from Helsinki, Finland, or Aldriki from Edinburgh, Scotland? The answer is Helsinki by a mere 300 miles. Aldriki traveled 4,700 miles, and then Helsinki came about 5,000 miles. Of course, the furthest team to travel here is Victoria, over 8,000 miles traveled one way.
Wow. So before we got the second half underway, calling the shots went over, addressed the penalty box area. It appears as though Giles will start in the penalty box.
Interesting.
We never did get an update on that official review, but with Giles in the penalty box, I have a theory about it.
Hit me.
The official review was to put, no, it was not to put Giles in the penalty box. She is standing right now. She is the jammer of record for VRDL.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb jamming for Texas here, Mike.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb knocked out of turn 3. She's going to get recycled, and it looks like it may maybe all the way back to turn 2. She is. Giles still trying to make headway in the far straightaway. Working against Stonehern, Barbara ambush. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb finding room on the inside. She clears the pack. Lead jammer goes to Texas.
Jana Naku giving her a hard time on the inside line, but she managed to sneak through for lead here.
Giles now through the pack, clear on her initial pass, giving up a little more than half the track. Pack speeds up as it enters turn 1, now exits turn 2. Whip from Smarty Pants, Mick Swagger with the exit hit on Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. Sounded like there was a whistle down in the far apex.
1 point for her efforts here. Victoria doing a fantastic job of point protection here. They really sped up that pack, fanned out. Mick Swagger doing the business at the top and only giving up a solo point.
That whistle down in the far apex, whistled against Barbara Ambush. She's going to start that next jam in the penalty box for Texas. VRDL with a 3-point lead. We are just a minute or so into the second half. Bloody Mary jamming for Texas. Ivy Knive wearing the star for VRDL. Ivy Knive getting offense from Donnie Darko. Ivy Knive to her toe stop, stays in bounds. Lead jammer goes to VRDL. Jam cap off for Texas, still in the hands of Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary getting some help up front. from Jackie Daniels. Jackie Daniels now back playing defense as Ivy Knive enters the pack on a scoring pass. And a track cut penalty on Bloody Mary, power jam VRDL. Barbara Ambush out of the penalty box. She's going to rejoin the pack. Ivy Knive moved to the inside. She will reset. Trauma looking for a track cut penalty, did not get it. Ivy Knive through the pack. 4 points on that scoring pass. No pass, no point on the 5th. Ivy Knive back into the pack, which is entrenched in turn 3. And she escapes the far apex on a 5-point scoring pass. Whistle down in turn 3. As Bloody Mary now out of the penalty box. Ivy Knive moved to the inside. She is trying to exit turn 4. Texas staking their defense there, as is VRDL. Pack constricted right at the exit to turn 4, right before the jam line. Very slow movement. Pack now just crossing the jam line. Ivy Knive goes to the outside. She clears on a 5-point scoring pass on screen offense from Sarelson. Bloody Mary through the pack, clear on her initial.
That's 14 points so far for Ivy.
Ivy calls off the jam and does pick up one more.
Make that 15 for Ivy. And big credit here goes to Shayna Sarelson. Not only is she being an uber dynamic blocker, staying in her walls, never leaving for too long to play offense, but on several of these passes, she just picked off one Texas skater, formed in the wall with them, and just moved out of the way, clearing the path, plowing the road for Ivy. And we now have a solid lead for Victoria, 76 to Texas 58. Jamming now, Freight Train wearing black, Giles wearing white for Victoria.
Freight Train originally trying to go to the center. She now moving on the outside back to the center. Seems to like the outside rail. Pack extends out too far, and Freight Train is your lead jammer. Not to be outdone, though, Giles clearing the pack, giving up about a third of the track. Mick Swagger whistled for another penalty for VRDL. Freight Train into the pack, looking to put points on the board for Texas. Offense coming from the back. Giles now speeding up. Freight Train calls off the jam in turn 4.
Wow.
Only picked up, she did pick up 2 points. Yeah. Giles picked up 1.
She picked up those 2 points when she inserted herself into that tripod and managed to squeeze her hips between the 2 forward-facing blockers.
Nice job to pick up 2 points then.
Score
and it looks
now.
like that, it looks like that was amended. 2 points picked up for each team as Mick Swagger still in the penalty box for VRDL.
Again, great editing by our officiating staff here.
That's right. Mary Faglin wearing the star opposite Nikki Tiki Time Bomb. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb going to the outside. Sarelson slows her roll. Nikki Tiki rolls back to the inside, and she is clear of the pack. Lead jammer goes to Texas. Trauma to the penalty box for the Texecutioners. Mary Faglin still working on her initial pass. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb into the pack. Sarelson looking to get the track cut call. Did not get it. Mary Faglin moved to the inside, still working on her initial pass. Swagger trying to get her some offense from the back. Texas really staunch in their defense. Swagger coming to break it up once again.
Unfortunately, Mick Swagger getting tied up with Mary herself, taking Mary out and recycling her to the rear of the pack.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb escapes the front of the pack. Another 5-point scoring pass for the Texecutioners. They have cut the lead to 12. Mary Faglin trying to push out the front of the pack. Pack speeds up, entering the front straightaway. Bianca Sharetta up front with Shayna Sarelson. High block penalty. That's going to go against 100cc. Boom for the Texecutioners. Mary Faglin still working on her initial pass. Finally has cleared the pack. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb still working on a scoring pass. Bianca Sharetta has been a thorn in her side this jam. She gets moved to the outside by Bone Shaker, calls it off, but got all 5 points.
Wow.
Wow.
Score now, so that's 10 points there. Score now 70 to 77. Victoria still leads wasn't seeing as much discipline from Victoria. That jam looked a little bit chaotic. What we were looking at was Victoria blockers leaving their formation that make contact with that jammer, and that jammer's just going to swim right through them individually.
We did not see a lot of lone wolfing from VRDL blockers earlier. Interesting that we're seeing it at this point. Ivy Knive wearing the star once again. Peace War jamming for Texas. Peace War working against the front of the pack now as it enters turn 1. Lorraine Evans drops back to play offense for her jammer. She's switching back between playing offense and bridging out the two portions of the pack. 3 for D up front for VRDL. Lorraine Evans joins the group now. It's all 4 defense. Stoneher up to play offense for Peace War. Pack now just getting into turn 2. Peace War 2 to beat up front. Pack starting to get strung out. Smarty Pants to the penalty box for Texas. Ivy Knive making no purchase against the pack in the back, and lead jammer goes to Texas.
That's 3 in a row, Mike.
Stoneher doing a nice job escorting Ivy Knive to the inside of the track, does it again. Ivy Knive can cap in hand, move to the outside by Barbara Ambush. Peace War pushing against the front of the pack. Mick Swagger dropping the bridge between the two. Ivy Knive working against the back. Swagger out to play offense. Clears well, but CC Boom there waiting for Ivy. Ivy goes to her toe stop. She's clear of the pack. That was her initial pass. Smarty Pants now out of the penalty box for Texas. Peace War trying to get flung through the pack. Calls off the jam. And she did have 3 points. Texas cuts VRDL's lead to 4.
Ivy with very impressive, what Shreddy Mercury likes to call line hygiene there. When you tiptoe that line, you know exactly where your front foot, back foot is. And boy, this is getting really exciting. Victoria with 77, Texas 73, a mere 21 and change remaining in this bout. Jamming now, Freight Train for Texas, going up against Giles for Victoria.
Freight Train starting on the outside, immediately moves to the inside, playing a little defense against Giles. She is now in the center of the pack, as is Giles. Pack now crossing the pivot line. And we have a track cut call. That's going to go against Giles. Nice job by Molotov Impale. That's at least the second track cut penalty she's drawn. Offense up front from Jackie Daniels. Freight Train clear. Lead jammer goes to Texas.
Freight Train is 2 for 2 in the second period.
She's looking to put points on the board. 4 points separate the teams. If she completes this scoring pass and passes all 4 legally, she'll get credit for the 5th. That'll be our lead change. Pack with a pretty good pace right now as it enters turn 3 into the apex and just entering turn 4. Freight Train 2 to beat up front. Forearm penalty whistled, and that's going to go against Freight Train. She sits down. Giles will be released from the penalty box. Freight Train's got about 22 seconds to serve. Gap in hand for Giles as she re-enters the track. Remember, she is working on her initial pass, makes quick work of the pack, and she is through. Cap back on helmet. She is eligible to score. Pack set up in the second apex. Giles into the pack, pushing the pack into turn 4. Texas sets their defense up front, but Victoria swarming with their offense. And a 5-point scoring pass for Giles. Freight Train out of the penalty box now. She's going against Sarelson at the front of the pack, who's working with Danny Darko. Bone Shaker dropping the bridge. We've got another whistle. That one going against Danny Darko. Freight Train clears on a 4-point scoring pass. Giles still working on hers. Offense from Sarelson. Giles through on the inside.
And that's the natural conclusion of that jam. And that's going to take us to a score. It looks like 77 for, no, we get some points to add. And Shayna has some things to say to head ref calling the shots. 5 more points for Victoria. While we're figuring out that score, obviously, very exciting game. I want to remind you fans to take a look at our ECRG live tweets. Twitter is at ECRG or at ECRG_the Big O. And we want you to hashtag Big O 2016.
All right, so on the track, Screw Barrymore jamming for VRDL opposite Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary already threw the pack and has been declared lead jammer. That is Screw Barrymore with the star, being moved to the inside by Smarty Pants. Bloody Mary one to beat up front. Nice battle going. She wins that one though against Lorray Evans. 5-point scoring pass for Texas. They're within 5. Screw Barrymore having a hard time making headway against this pack. Danny Darko offense in the back, and looks like we're going to get a high block penalty against Screw Barrymore. We do. Power jam for Texas. It's a low block penalty, excuse me. So pack in the front straight away. VRDL's got their defense set at the front. Bloody Mary knocked to the outside of turn 1. Offense coming from her teammates. Smarty Pants trying to hold back Danny Darko. Bloody Mary dropped in the far straightaway. Calls off the jam.
Looks like 3 more there for Victoria.
And it looks like Texas calling for an official review. Holy cow. All right, so while Texas is calling for that official review, Mellons, let's reset here. So we got 17 minutes, 17 seconds left on the period clock in the second half. Victoria, 2 tea timeouts left. Texas still with 3. Texas now using their official review. They are down 2 points.
A mere 2 points, Mike checks.
First of all, let's talk about the fact that there are only 172 points combined by these teams right now. Well, let's talk defensive clinic.
Absolutely, and Texas is bringing it. They're really playing a more dynamic, cohesive game than they were earlier today against Rat City. But interestingly, Texas has had 6 out of 7 lead jams so far in this second period. This is their period to show what they're made of. Victoria, what a great team. They have a real shot at the Hydra this year.
Yeah, they do.
They
this
really
is
do.
Insane.
And how exciting that Texas is giving them a run for their money.
Right. No, this has been amazing, Derby. Fans, I'm glad you've joined us. Referees conferring in the center of the track, calling the shots out of the huddle, calling over Shayna Sarelson. So once Colin addresses both teams, he will get on the microphone and let us know what that official review was for. He has addressed both teams.
Texas reviewing penalty on white 503 in the previous jam. The correct skater, black 803, is in the penalty box. There was no call on white 503. They do not retain their review.
All right, very interesting. So Texas thought there was a penalty against Mick Swagger. There was not a penalty against Mick Swagger in that jam. Therefore, Texas loses their review for the second half.
Victoria's going to be a little protective of Mick. She's a little high penalty so far this game, and they sure want to keep her on the track.
And next jam underway. That is Nikki Tiki Time Bomb jamming for Texas. Knocked to the inside. She's going to have to reset. Screw Barrymore was in the penalty box. She's out. Shayna Sarelson looking for a track cut penalty. Did not get it. Cap coming off as Nikki Tiki Time Bomb through the pack. Lead jammer goes to Texas. Screw Barrymore, I believe, still has the cap. No, it has been passed. Mary Fagdalin now exits the pack, clear on her initial pass. No jam ref following her. Jam ref now caught up with her. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb into the pack, calls off the jam, not before picking up 3 points.
Oh, this is exciting. We have another lead change, Mike. 88 points for Texas. The Victorians 87.
Sarelson over addressing the jam ref, really lobbying for that cut track call.
At bat now, Ivy for Victoria, and Bloody Mary wearing the star for Texas, wearing black jerseys.
Pack up at the pivot line to start. VRDL did have their defense set up at the start of the jam. Bloody Mary being held up in the backfield while Ivy Knive pushes out the pack in the front, aided by Mick Swagger. Ivy Knive, one to beat up front. That's a big hit by number 15, Trauma. Ivy Knive through the pack. Lead jammer goes to VRDL. Cap pass now to Smarty Pants. Texas clears their initial. Ivy into the pack, calls off the jam, does not get any credit for points though.
Good on Ivy, though. That's the first lead jammer status Victoria has had in the last 8 jams. It feels like Texas has to work a little bit harder to be in control of this game. But they're doing it.
Well, and that's fair. It seems as though VRDL's a little rattled right now. After the last 3 jams, they've had team members going over and addressing the referees.
Jamming now, Peace War for Texas and Giles for Victoria.
Giles going to work on the center to the outside of the track. Peace War going straight up the middle to start. Peace War with a little more headway, has to make room against Mick Swagger, though. Screw Barrymore recycling back to the front of the pack. She's there for defense. Swarming defense by VRDL, and a forearm penalty whistled against Peace War. Power jam VRDL. Blockers back to play offense for Giles now. Pack constricted at the first apex. Offense from the outside to in by Bone Shaker. Giles still working on that initial pass. Texas stifling defense right now. VRDL having a hard time playing offense for Giles. Bittercup doing a great job of defense in the backfield. CC Boom as well. Lead jammer has been declared for VRDL. Honestly, Mellons, if Giles is having this much trouble getting through the pack, she might want to call it. And of course, now she's clear.
Helmet cover off. Peace War ready to give it up.
She out of the penalty box. Nice penalty kill by Texas.
Absolutely.
Giles seemingly on a slow roll right now. Peace War really fighting against Bianca Sharetta and Mick Swagger at the front of the pack. Jackie Daniels up to play some O. Giles now finding her wheels. Got to get around Jackie Daniels at the front. And Jackie Daniels draws a track cut penalty on Giles. Power jam now for Texas. Peace War working on a scoring pass. Gets around Mick Swagger and Bone Shaker. VRDL's defense, though, keeps resetting at the front of the pack. Texas goes passive. 2 minutes through. No points for Peace War. That was the initial pass.
Giles is going to be sitting in that penalty box for about the next 15 seconds. It's going to give Texas a great opportunity here, and they're going to put out the one and only Nikki Tiki time bomb.
Victoria had points being held. They now hold a 3-point lead with 12.5 minutes to play. VRDL defense set up close to the pivot line. Texas blockers swarming on offense now as the pack enters turn 1. VRDL going to try and speed up the pace, and they are successful at doing so. Texas tried to get a goat in the back, but it doesn't matter. Nikki Tiki time bomb finds room on the inside. She clears lead jammer Texas.
Hat's already off as Giles exits the penalty box and enters the track.
Nikki Tiki time bomb going to the outside of turn 3. She now in the second apex. VRDL's defense set up in turn 4. Giles not to the outside of the second apex. She resets. She's still working on her initial pass. Nikki Tiki time bomb to her toe stops, not to the inside. She'll reset behind the jam line. Mick Swagger fighting up front. Giles still really struggling against Texas's defense. Giles around on a spin move, stays in bounds, clear on her initial. Nikki Tiki time bomb now at the front of the pack. She's clear on a 5-point scoring pass and calls off the jam. Texas retakes the lead.
Fantastic, and the crowd just went crazy as you saw Giles. It looked like she jumped the apex, but she was really pivoting over her balanced foot, and that's when the crowd just started screaming their brains out. That was really great footwork. And of course now Texas in the lead by a mere 2 points. Jamming now Freight Train for Texas and Mary Fagdelein, number 13 for Victoria.
Texas still with 3 timeouts remaining. Victoria still with 2. Jam underway. Freight Train quick off the line. Starts to work on the inside, now back to the center. Mary Fagdelein almost cut the track. Stops herself though. She's reset behind the jam line. Both teams sending one to play offense. Defense resets in the front for VRDL. CC Boom, solid defense on the outside for VRDL. Mary Fagdelein goes to the inside, swing and a miss by Jackie Daniels. Lead jammer goes to VRDL. CC Boom to the penalty box for Texas. Pack starting to enter turn 4, now leaving. Mary Fagdelein threw on another 5-point scoring pass. Victoria now retaking the lead. Freight Train shrugs off a hit from Bianca Sharetta.
Looks like there was a missed opportunity to hand that star cover over to JD.
But Jackie Daniels locks in on defense as Mary Fagdelein and into the pack on another scoring pass. Pack is bunched up in the second apex. CC Boom out of the penalty box. Jackie Daniels receives the star pass. Clear on the initial for Texas. Mary Fagdelein does not seem to know what's going on. Jackie Daniels knocked to the inside, but she's picked off a few points. This may be part of VRDL's plan to roll the clock, though.
Well, she made it worth her while, whether it was a mistake or not. She's put up 4 more points. That's 9 so far for Mary Fagdelein.
It also could be trusting the defense that you have out on the track.
It's a good defense to trust.
Jam whistled to its conclusion. 3 points picked up by Texas on that last scoring pass. 2 by VRDL. VRDL crosses the century mark now, and it looks like they hold a 6-point lead over Texas as we are inside 8.5 minutes left to play.
Victoria doing a fantastic job considering in the first 10 jams of this period, they only have about 30% lead jammer status.
Ivy Conivy wearing the star once again. Bloody Mary jamming for Texas. Slow start to this jam. Pack halfway between the jam line and the pivot line. Jammer starting to force it forward. McSwagger recycling in the backfield. Ivy Conivy being dropped in the first apex. Bloody Mary goes to the outside. She gets around Lorraine Evans. Lead jammer goes to Texas. It almost seems like instant reaction by VRDL's jammer to take off the cap as soon as they learn that the other jammer has been whistled lead. That is the case now. Ivy Conivy, cap in hand, move to the inside. Penalty on Molotov. Impale, show report to the penalty box. Screw Barrymore already there for VRDL. Sarelson and Bloody Mary going at each other in the back of the pack. Pack slowly entering turn 3. Trauma on offense, now dropping the bridge. VRDL clears the pack. Ivy Conivy on her initial. Bloody Mary calls off the jam right before Ivy hits the back of the pack. 3 points being held for Bloody Mary. Texas within 3.
Both Trauma and Mick, respectively, 2 of the strongest, most badass blockers for their teams, are getting a little bit of penalty trouble. 5 penalties apiece with 6.5 minutes left. They should be able to manage that. They did stop the bleeding a little bit, respectively. And score now 99-102 with Victoria in the lead. Giles now jamming against Nikki Tiki Time Bomb.
VRDL defense set up in front of the Texas blockers, which were set up right in front of the jam line. Low block penalty whistle.
Low block penalty whistled there on CC Boom, and she's going to find herself in trouble here. That might be her 6th penalty.
So Nikki Tiki time bomb to the penalty box on a forearm. Giles working through the pack. She is clear now. That's a 5-point scoring pass for VRDL. Texecutioners having penalty problems this jam. Barbara ambush also to the penalty box for the Texecutioners. Easy offense played by VRDL and a 5-point scoring pass for Victoria.
Full penalty box here for Texas.
Giles into the pack. Working around Jackie Daniels, a Molotov impale. She clears 5-point scoring passes. CC Boom back in the pack. Danny Darko to the penalty box for VRDL.
It's already a 15-point jam for Giles.
Oh my gosh. Giles back into the pack looking for more. Nikki Tiki time bomb out of the penalty box, cap in hand. Runs into Sarelson at the back of the pack. Barbara ambush plays offense. Nice distraction also by CC. Nikki Tiki time bomb clear on her initial pass. Giles sees her coming, waits, calls off the jam. 4 more points for Victoria.
That's a 19-point jam for Giles and Mike. This is the 14th jam of the second period. I'm going to say that this is a pivotal jam for Victoria when they said enough is enough. Let's finish this.
Well, Texas has done a good job answering everything that VRDL has thrown at them so far. Texas on their first team timeout now. They still have 2 remaining. They find themselves down 22, but there's still 4 minutes, 49 seconds left. And fans, while we have this break, I'd like to remind you, after the conclusion of this unbelievably exciting bout, make sure you stay tuned for what will hopefully be the equally exciting post-game show hosted by Megatron and John Maddening. That will take place right after this bout.
Just to tack onto that, I want to give a huge thank you to the photographers here. Thank you so much for contributing their time and talent to shoot the one and only Big Al. Special shout out to Steve Sharky Mancini, who has organized their talent crew.
One more shout out here real quick to Cody in the truck. He's working with Ty Bach and Northwest Audio Video Productions. They're helping bring you all of this action today, so thank you to him.
Smarty Pants now wearing the star for Texas. She'll be going head-to-head with Mary Fagdalin jamming for Victoria.
Victoria starting with 1 in the penalty box. Big start by Smarty Pants from the backfield. She was declared lead jammer. Mary Fagdalin also out of the pack, clear on her initial. Smarty Pants calls off the jam quickly.
They would like to retain some time on the clock.
Here's the thing about that, though. All this served to do was burn the 30 seconds between the jam and the 15 seconds or so in that jam.
You're so smart. That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah. So Smarty Pants lined up to jam again.
Against Ivy Knivey this time.
Smarty Pants right about the entrance to the second apex is where she starts. Runs right into the Victoria defense at the back of the pack, but for the second time in a row it works for her. Lead jammer goes to the Texecutioners. Forearm penalty being whistled. Pack still just now hitting the pivot line. That's against Ivy Knivey. Power jam for Texas. And Texas looks like they're going to answer 5 points on that scoring pass for Smarty Pants. Texas now cutting the lead to 17. Smarty Pants around the outside. Door shut on the outside. That was by Bianca Sharetta. Nice offense coming from Stoneher and a 5-point scoring pass.
JD just closing the door and Mick Swagger preventing her from even getting near Smarty Pants on that pass. 10 points so far.
Texas seeming to put it in another gear right now. Smarty Pants to the outside, finally knocked down. But she gets up again. You ain't ever going to keep her down. Ivy Knivey out of the penalty box through the pack, clear on her initial pass. Smarty Pants gets around Mick Swagger, 1 to beat. She clears. That's another 5 points for Texas.
Well, golly, Mike, 15 points for Smarty Pants. That's going to cut it down to a mere 7-point lead for Victoria with just 2 minutes, 46 seconds remaining in this game. Really exciting. I see Smarty Pants, such a versatile skater, kind of like Lacey Ramon, a.k.a. Carmen Gibson for Rat City. Block, block, block. But you know what? When it comes down to the dirty business to get it done, she is someone to be trusted as a fantastic jammer.
That's completely fair. Team timeout on the track for Texas. That is their second team timeout. They have 1 remaining. As Mellon said, they find themselves on the backside of a 7-point VRDL lead. 2 minutes, 46 seconds left on the clock.
That 15-point jam by Smarty Pants is actually the highest scoring jam for Texas in this bout. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb had a 13-point jam in the first period, but not too many double-digit jams for Texas. I mean, look at the score. Very low-scoring game as we were talking about earlier.
You're absolutely right. Again, remember fans, Megatron and John Maddening with a post-game show immediately following this bout.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb jamming for Texas. Giles yet again for Victoria.
Jam has been whistled started. Very little movement from the pack to start. VRDL's defense up front. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb moved to the inside by Sarelson. She will reset right at the jam line. Giles has been declared lead jammer. Texas defense reforms in front of her though. Pack now just entering turn 1. Barbara Ambush dropping the bridge between the two portions of the pack. VRDL getting their last blocker back, both teams at full strength.
Nikki really showing the wear and exhaustion in her face now, very determined.
Lorraine Evans playing offense up front for Giles. Pack now just exiting turn 2. Nice exit hit. That was by Trauma. Everybody going backward now. We'll just go ahead and restart this jam essentially. Nikki Tiki Time Bomb escorted to the inside by Sarelson once again. Pack re-entering turn 1. Direction of play penalty. That looks like it's going to go against one of the Texas blockers. Nobody has left the track yet. That is Barbara Ambush now finally leaving the track. Giles takes advantage. She is clear. Lead jammer goes to VRDL.
A little more than 30 seconds remaining on the jam clock. And again, Giles' lead jammer.
Nikki Tiki Time Bomb ended up passing the cap. That
4 points there for Giles.
wow.
By the skin of her teeth. Victorian roller derby pulls ahead 125 to 114, making this an 11-point game. 53 seconds. The clock it's ticking. By far, this is the game of the day, and then some. Jamming now, Smarty Pants going up against Mary Fagdalin, statistically the strongest jammer for Victoria in this game.
Texas has had very few double-digit jams. They need at least 11 to tie. Pack now entering turn 1. VRDL looking to pick up lead jammer any way they can. Smarty Pants goes down at the second apex, and Mary Fagdalin through lead jammer VRDL. 13 seconds left on the period clock. We'll see if Mary Fagdalin chooses to engage the pack. She slows. She will. Mary Fagdalin engaging Smarty Pants into the back of the pack.
Oh, that gamble certainly pays off, Mike. Woo. 5 big ones for Victoria. The clock expires and Mary Fagdalin calls off that jam. Once those 5 points have been added to the tally, that makes it Texas 114 points, Victoria 130, a 16-point victory for Victorian roller derby. Mike checks.
Wow. Texas came out and gave VRDL everything they could handle. What was amazing to me was both of these teams were on their second game of the day.
A very hard second game of the day after a long day. I mean, it's the first day here, you're traveling, it's exciting, you're seeing all your friends, and you have to stay focused. Imagine Shayna Sarelson coming back from down under, seeing all her buddies.
Right.
There's so much going on, and she stayed focused. We didn't have any foul-outs this game.
That's right.
What we saw was the best of both Victoria and Texas right here.
You're absolutely right. Both teams, an amazing performance, really. That one was a lot of fun. Well, fans, thank you very much for joining us. VRDL victorious. The score now final. VRDL 130, Texas 114. Fans, you've been watching continuous coverage of the Big O tournament from Eugene, Oregon. Stick around. Megatron and John Maddening will have all of your post-game wrap-up here. We're going to go to commercial break for just a few minutes. We will take you over to Megatron and Maddening in just a moment.